Hey everybody, Willy the Composer, and I'm just going to share some of my thoughts about the moon landing because today is the 50th anniversary of the first time man landed on the moon and walked on the moon. And I've been thinking about this a lot. It's probably the single greatest achievement in all of human history. And that's 100% to the credit of the United States of America. I guess you could credit our adversaries, the Soviet Union, for motivating us to do it, because without them we wouldn't have. Obviously, because now that they're gone, we don't have motivation to go any further, you know? Who knows if the Soviet Union said, okay, you won the battle, but the war is for the moon, and we're gonna keep, is for Mars. Sorry, you won the battle of the moon, but the war is for Mars. And we're gonna keep going. We would have been on Mars in the fucking 80s. No, come on. It's just so funny to me how time and time again war is responsible for technological innovation. But it's like not even that. I don't know if we would have any technology if it weren't for war. Arguably, we might not even have fire or anything more than the crudest of stone tools if we didn't have to compete with other humans for resources. But then again, competing with other humans for resources is like a fundamental rule of nature. So all animals compete with other members of their species for resources, including breeding partners. You know, that's kind of how life works. At least life as we're able to understand it. No, but really and truly, I always think about, anytime I think about the moon landing, I think about it with pride and admiration. And again, greatest achievement. For one simple reason, because we humans think of ourselves as separate from nature, as separate from the earth. And that's just something we can't really escape. There's no, for some reason, like every philosophy, liberal and conservative, wherever you look, humans are more. We're more than that, you know. Some say animals are also more than that, you know. Some say all of nature is more than that. But nobody, well, not too many people seem to really think of humans as just part of nature. I mean, scientists kind of deal with humans in that way, but even they kind of put humans on a special pedestal. You can't help but do it. You're a human. You're going to be anthropocentric, you know. Man, I tell you what. I'm not saying necessarily from a religious perspective, which is something that nobody can agree on. Humans are more than just part of nature. Or from a spiritual perspective, maybe all of nature is more than something else. Life is more special than... However you look at it, humans are of the earth. Okay? Certainly. You gotta say that. Unless you're talking ancient aliens. And even then, unless we were the ancient aliens who came here, which biology would argue against that, there'd be a hell of a lot of coincidences between us and our fellow mammals for us to not come from the earth in some way. Humans are of the earth. We're made of materials from the earth. For sure. For sure. Even if the first humans weren't, the materials that make us up now are earthly materials. And yes, some debris, some different things come from space, but ultimately the whole earth does come from space eventually. We are earthly beings, okay? And the moon itself, as far as the modern scientific understanding goes, was formed whenever another forming planet collided into the still hardening molten earth and broke off and created another moon. Which is pretty neat. I don't know. It's an interesting theory. That's what the current understanding is, at least. So the moon itself is part of the earth, but when you think about humanity, we're talking about part of Earth going to the moon, leaving Earth, assembling other materials from Earth to build something made out of Earth that went to another place outside of Earth and stood on something separate from Earth that looked at all the rest of the earth at once. It's just mind-blowing, man. I mean, everything else that's happened that's worth mentioning is on and of the earth. It affects nobody but us. It affects nobody but our own rock. You know. Really and truly, we've never really had any influence over anything besides this wonderful place that we call home. I mean, and you really do got to think of it as wonderful, you know? It's the only world we ever have, so why would you hate it? You know? You know, life is what it is. Why hate it? You know, why be resentful of anything in nature? You know, it's like being resentful of the sun. It's not going to make it not rise tomorrow. Really and truly, though, the moon landing is really special. And just the effort that went into making that sucker go down. I mean, if they had technology like we had nowadays, it would still have been a massive feat. They had nothing on us, though, as far as technology goes. But they had the frickin' will. And my old football coach, I played Pee-wee football, he used to say, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog. And that has stuck with me forever. Now, granted, the United States was the largest and most successful and powerful country in the nation. So they were a big dog in the fight. But hey, I mean, Soviet Russia could have done it themselves too and would have done it if we hadn't. So, you know, I guess we really did have the fight. Who knows? There's so many things that went into making that a success that's impossible to even comprehend all of them. You can't even say, like, so many thousands of people were directly involved in making that thing a success. From engineering it, to building it, to figuring out all the things that are going to go wrong. And, I mean, the few astronauts who did die throughout the space race, I'm actually surprised more people didn't die as a result of it. It goes to show there was a level of smarts working on this nonsense. We're talking the smartest people you've ever met in a room together. I couldn't even imagine being there, man. Being in that room whenever they're trying to work out how to get these three dudes in a tin can to this gray rock that humanity has been looking at and staring at and telling stories about since before recorded history, before we could remember. It's just wild, man. And I've been doing nothing but watching moon stuff all day. I've just had a total moon day. So I guess we're gonna get to the part I gotta talk about is moon landing conspiracy, moon landing hoax, that it was faked by Stanley Kubrick, who directed 2001: A Space Odyssey. They saw how well he did the year before, and in that year between when the movie was released and the moon landing, they pulled off this thing that fooled everyone except a couple of smart cookies who figured out the real truth. Yeah, I don't buy it. I never have. I've thought about it. I've considered it, just like I've thought about and considered literally every idea that anybody's ever said. That's just who I am. I always think about stuff people say to me. I never reject stuff outright, you know. And if I find myself doing that, I try my hardest to catch myself and go back and say, no, wait a minute, consider what they're saying. You know, because people with opposite worldview of me still make good points, you know, that could really improve my own thought processes. And, you know, although I've kind of gotten into a place where I've kind of figured out where I am in terms of ideas, and I'm not really shifting that much from there, I still don't feel stagnant. I still feel like the more information I gain, I'm just a sponge for information at this point. I just love it. I love to read nonfiction books. I love histories and biographies, things like that. Why waste your time reading fiction? You know, why get absorbed in something that never happened, could never happen, will never happen, when you could learn actual things about the world around you? You know, I just find that so much more interesting. That's just me, man. I just want to soak up everything like a sponge. I want to know as much about this world as I can before I leave it, because I don't know when that's going to be. And I don't want, you know, if I have the time to look back, I don't want to look back on my life and think and think about all the things I wish I had learned. You know, and I will anyways, because there's no way I can learn everything. I want to be the first person to learn everything, even though it's impossible. What was I talking about? Oh, the conspiracy, right. Anyways, no, I never bought it. There are some conspiracies that I bought in the past, and I don't now. There are conspiracies that maybe I even kind of impartial towards. I won't say which ones. But, yeah, that one just never stuck with me. It just seemed too... I always had this sense that in the 1960s they wouldn't have really had the technology to fake the moon landing. I mean, it would have been more likely for them to have the technology to get us to the moons. Because look at movies from the 60s. I mean, seriously, they couldn't even get sound design right, man. I'm telling you, if you look at the films of the time, why would they have such incredible filmmaking technology and only use it there? There's nothing else that wonderful filmmaking technology was ever used for. I mean, they say, look at how the astronauts move. How are you going to fake that kind of low gravity in 1969? Well, they slowed down the film. And I watched this video by a filmmaker who went through and said that these moon conspiracy theorists are just clueless on how light and shadow works. And, you know, I am too, which is why I chose to park a light right in front of me to cast a shadow over my eyes from the bill of my hat. You know, if I knew a thing about actual visual filmmaking, I probably wouldn't have done that. But I'm not going to sit and make a video like this because I look stupid. And even then, because I have deep set eyes, my eyes are like always in shadow unless I try to light myself very carefully. See, so I wouldn't consider something like that. So, I guess I can paste a link in the comments to this video. Yeah, I'll paste it in the comments, not the description, because nobody ever looks at the description. They look at the comments. And please, if you're curious at all about the moon landing hoax, I've never seen a guy take down a conspiracy theory more convincingly in my entire life. I mean, he just destroyed their asses, and just makes them look like idiots. And yeah, I guess that's all I really have to say, man. I'm just really happy, I'm really excited, and he did make a point in that video, that guy. He also makes some political satire, stuff like that, which I actually didn't disagree with most of it, honestly, even though he's coming from a different perspective from mine. The funny thing is he made this comment. He said back in the 60s, they wouldn't have had the technology to fake the moon landing. They just wouldn't have. But they did have the technology but they could figure out how to get to the moon. Really and truly. Nowadays, we have the technology to fake the moon landing, but we do not have the will to get there. No way. Who would spend that much money? People would go for what purpose? You know? And that famous JFK speech they always play, you know, why climb the highest mountain? Why does Rice play Texas? Which I love that line. It's a bit of a head scratcher if you don't know college football. Right? Why does Rice play Texas? We choose to go to the moon not because it is easy, but because it is hard. People don't have that spirit anymore. America's not like that anymore. It's really, really sad. Like if I think about it too much, I start to cry about how much our society has degenerated to the point where what defined America was that we would do shit just cause we freaking could. We didn't have to know that there didn't have to be any kind of special, examined, detailed, understood logic behind our actions. That was a European thing. That was the German thing. That was a Russian thing. Americans aren't like that. Americans do things just to show other people what we can do. Why grow the economy? Why do this? Why expand our military around the world? Because we freaking can. That's why, motherfucker. And I look. As the years go by, we stray further and further away from that, and we just become like the rest of the world more and more, and we're losing our identity as Americans. You know what I mean? People talk about this, and they talk about how race relates to this. Man, race or no race, I mean, forget about it. The situation we're in is a degradation of our society and our culture. And it sucks. It's really awful. And any politician who pays lip service even to that is better than somebody who would reject that. Stanley Kubrick, my favorite director, by the way. Absolutely my favorite director. 2001: A Space Odyssey isn't necessarily my favorite film. I guess I just don't get it. I watched it twice. I'm into that kind of thing, I usually get like hippie existential shit like that. And haven't read enough philosophy, man. I don't know. I didn't really get it. I thought it was beautifully filmed. And it wasn't too boring. No. But I really feel like there's something there that I'm not getting, I just can't help but feel that way. And there is. But his other movies, man, all of them. I just love them all. Paths of Glory, Lolita, Dr. Strangelove, freaking Barry Lyndon. Oh, it's the most beautiful movie I've ever seen in my life, Clockwork Orange. He's just the best director. Full Metal Jacket, The Shining. No, he's the best director of all time. Like, hands down. I don't even care. Say whoever you want. Stanley Kubrick made better movies. They looked better. They told better stories. They were more engaging. This guy knew his art and was more intelligent of a filmmaker than could ever exist anywhere else. He didn't direct the moon landings. No. No. just no. He did not. Although there's a top comment on the video that now I guess I'm promising to give you the link to, because it really is just an excellent, just the best debunking of any conspiracy theory I've ever seen. The top comment on that video is somebody saying they hired Stanley Kubrick to fake the moon landing, but he was such a perfectionist that they had to do it on location. Yeah. Alright, guys. Peace. Have a happy moon day. Drink a beer and watch Apollo 13. Just like I did. It's actually a pretty good movie. It's pretty damn accurate historically as well. I'm not the biggest Tom Hanks fan, but that's for another day. But the movie is pretty freaking cool. Peace.